Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Chiren, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. Welcome to the Women of a Certain Stage podcast. Super excited to hear what you've been up to, and tell me about last weekend.
This past weekend was absolutely incredible. A couple months ago, we decided to put on a summit for the local area, and this was a passion project of mine. I never thought I would be right here, but we ended up with the summit. And it started out over the summer with two women that said, "Oh, we should be talking more about menopause." And someone had introduced them to me and said, "Oh, if you haven't talked to Shannan, you need to talk to Shannan." And it just kind of rippled from there. It started with, well, we should do something in menopause. I'm like, well, I have a meetup group every month and we have, 12, 15 people that come. How is that going to be different? And it just went into, I'm like, what we really need is something to bring the community together, to really start to, look at some of the pillars that we talk about as we look at this stage of our lives, bring all of the local people together and have, a community building event. And we started conversations in July. I got my certification in the middle of July. In August, I turned that into starting my own company. And in September, we launched the summit. We said, we're going to have this summit in October. And it was absolutely incredible. We had 15 exhibitors, 7 speakers. We had almost everything sponsored by local community, everything from the coffee to the muffins to the food. We had flowers that someone donated. It was one of the most incredible things that I've ever been a part of.
Oh, that just makes my heart sing. You just graduated in July and you've got all this going on already. This is just amazing. It's such an amazing, fantastic example of what you can do when you're determined and you want to make things change.
Yeah. And the thing that was amazing was twofold when you talk about determination. At one point, I was going in to meet these two women and I had just met them in July, and all of a sudden we're working together and we're putting on this summit together, and we all had very different strengths. And I talked to someone and they said, "Are you sure you really want to do it? Do you have enough time to put it together? It's a lot of work and it's end of October." And I stopped and I walked into the coffee place. I said, "You guys, I'm really rethinking this." And they both just gave me this look of what? And they're like, "Are you?" I'm like, "Okay, fine, we're doing it." and from that point on, there was no stopping us. And, just the learnings along the way, the people that came into my world that I never even knew. It just the more I asked, the more was received. It has been, the amount of times I've been on the verge of I don't know if I'm going to cry, if I'm going to smile. It's been amazing.
So what was your biggest takeaway from doing the event? What was it about the whole experience that you're kind of like, yes, that's my one thing?
Community. Honestly, having all of these women in one place to share their stories, to not feel alone, and to just be a part of something. I feel like so many times we're online and we're, you don't get to hug someone online. You don't get to just see things in the same way. And bringing, there were at one point there was over 75 people in the room on Saturday. And I was blown away looking at people talking. I remember at one point, one of the other women's like, "Hello," and screaming into the microphone. And no one wanted to stop talking. The room was just a buzz with just conversation. And during lunch that day, I had challenged everyone to, get outside of their comfort zone, share their story with, meet at least 5 other people
Yeah.
and share their story. And it was powerful. It was really powerful.
And that's such an important thing as well, isn't it? Because a lot of women are quite nervous about going to an event, especially if they're going on their own. But the fact that
Yeah.
you gave them an objective for when they were there, and you gave them something that's so personal, so not that it's easy to share your story, but when you're in that like-minded environment and everyone's there for the same reason, it suddenly becomes somewhere where you can open up and talk and share and realize that you're not alone. And I love that you've created that. Absolutely. I mean, community is at the heart of everything I do. But like you said, I'm working globally, so it's really hard to have that, in-person event. So what's next? What's the next plan? Is this an annual event? Is it something else? Tell me more. Tell me more.
That is a great question. As we were preparing for the event, we were talking about the next event, and I'm like, can we get through? Can we get through tomorrow? And just coming off of it, there's definitely plans for this to be more of an annual event. I have been doing since last November. A monthly meetup group that I had started, and that was part of the kickoff of this. And it was
Yeah.
right after I'd lost my job. I decided I wanted to give back. And for me, local is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started the meetup groups, it started with a small group of women. And then as it started to grow, I started to bring in experts,
Mm-hmm.
and every month has been a little different. So my hope is that we can keep that going on a monthly basis. And then at least once a year, someone said 6 months. I'm like, can I get past tomorrow? Let me have Monday. To have it at least once a year. It was
Amazing.
originally going to be on National Menopause Day, and
Yeah.
we ended up moving it because it just felt that one extra week just gave us the time that we
Mm-hmm.
needed.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just an incredible event. And I challenged myself there as well. I told my
Yeah.
personal story, which I really felt unlocked a lot of women. I had women come up to me after thanking me,
Mm-hmm.
sharing their own as a result of it. It was incredible.
Oh, amazing.
And
Amazing.
Lauren, on that note, 3 of women of a certain stage, graduates were there as well.
Ah, I love that. And tell for people listening, tell them where you're based.
I'm in right outside of Boston. I'm in a north of the city in a place called Melrose,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, which is about 10 miles north of Boston. And we
Oh.
had three other Massachusetts women who I've met as a result of your program. One is a few miles away, and the other are on the other side of town. But all 3 of them came to support me in the event.
Oh, that oof, this community, right? And you did exactly
Yeah.
what I did 12 years ago, which was find a location, bring people together once a month, put on an event where you get more people together, more experts,
Yeah.
and that's how it grows. That's how it develops. Oh, and the fact that you had other grads there too. That's kind of like, oh, that's just the icing on the cake. So for people listening, explain what you were doing before and what was it that drew you into coming to train with me as a menopause coach, and why women of a certain stage.
Sure. So as I alluded to earlier, I was laid off in August of last year. Before that, I had been in the software industry for 25 years. I started out in sales, moved to post sales, and then went into customer success. And I've been in customer success for almost 25 years, supporting different
Yeah.
customers, and then growing teams, growing my business, and climbing the corporate ladder along the way. And as I told in my story, it felt like every part of the journey, as I continued to grow,
Mm.
I became less and less happy.
Mm.
And I realized perimenopause was a big part of that as well. But when I was laid off in August, I had 2 choices. I could go back into just finding another corporate job, or I could start to see what is it that I really want to do next.
Mm.
And I started to really think about it. And honestly, in 2020, I had listened to a podcast called Hit Play Not Pause. And it was game changing for me, because all of a sudden I'm listening and I'm like, wait a minute, there's something about this menopause. Like there's something about it. And my friends at the time were about 5 years older than me. And I could see them that they're going through hot flashes. And I'm like in my late 40s. And I said to them at the time, I'm like, well, it's starting. I said, you're in menopause, or you're in early stages, and this is what it is. And I kept gathering information for them, not realizing that I was going through it myself. As I'm getting anxious, as I'm getting all these things that are happening to me. So while my journey started in the early 20s, there wasn't a lot of information available. And honestly, every place that I found information was coming from the UK. Or other places besides the US. So when I lost my job, I started to really soul search, see what I wanted to do. And it led me to thinking, well, if I do anything next, it's going to be passion driven. It's going to be something that is important to me. And I joked and I said, and I'm never working for a man again.
I think I might have said that once or three times. I get you.
I'm like, no. So it was one of those things, as I started saying things out loud, like, I'm going to work I'd like to work in femtech. I'd like to work in women's health. So all of these things kept moving forward. And in March of that year, February, March, as I was doing these meetup groups, someone made a comment about, well, what are you going to do? You seem like you have a lot of knowledge in this space. And I'm like, I'm thinking about coaching. And I talked to a few different people, and honestly, your name came up 3 different times. And when something comes up 3 different times in my world, I act on it. So I reached out to you. I had looked at a couple of different programs, but what I didn't like is they were all self-paced. And I am one, I need community. I need to be held accountable. And I love the fact that you had every Friday for 2 hours, we were meeting, and we accomplished something every week. And that was important to me. So that's what led me to Women of a Certain Stage, was that accountability piece. Our conversation when you gave me a 3, 2, 1, what is your goal? What does your gut say? And I started the cohort. I was a week late into the cohort, but it was definitely game changing for me.
So tell me, what were your key takeaways about the Menopause Coach Diploma? What was it as you went through that experience? How did your thinking change, or what were the big wins for you as you went through the program?
The 1%. It was small wins all the time. What I really liked about the program was how there was the 3 different parts. It was really that continued education, which over the years, I felt like I had been listening and continue to listen to, different experts and different research on it. But I really like the way you put it together very succinctly in those first couple of weeks to really feel like we had that foundation. Then the coaching component was great, because there was, I think for many of us in the cohort, because we had conversations after, it was like, but we're supposed to be telling people what to do. And it's like, no, you're guiding them. And, it really becomes an aha moment for them. And then the last piece of it, walking through the menopause plan itself, and feeling like over 7 weeks, you had, all of the main components of it, and how little of that was about symptoms, and how much of it was just really listening and making those small 1% changes. And it was powerful, because over time, the women, as we went through the 3 practice clients, I went through 3 practice clients. I watched their mind shift change so drastically, and mine as well. Like, I walked out of there going, you don't have to do these huge sweeping things. Just minor changes continued over time make a huge difference.
Yeah. And from that, I think the menopause plan, it's almost quite deceptive. I think one of my early grads, I think in the pilot study, she said to me, it's so simple, but it's so impactful. And I thought that's a really nice way to sum it up, because everyone takes something different away from it. And the less you are informing your clients, or trying to tell them or guide them what to do, and just go through the plan and ask the questions and let them create it for themselves, the bigger wins they seem to have. So I love watching the transformations that come with all the practice clients and then the clients going forward. So talk to me a little bit more about, you've talked about working previously and thinking about, making a passion plan going forward, the passion project business going forward. What are the key skills from your former corporate life that you feel you bring with you that are going to really help you on this journey as well?
I think, customer first. I've been customer first for 25 years, and I think that just translates into client first. Having empathy, being able to listen.
Yeah.
I think so much of my life and my past job was problem solving, whereas now I get to like almost listen a little bit more, but a lot of what I loved about my past job was the team building component of
Mm-hmm.
it, and really looking at someone's skill sets and how they operated, and kind of almost like, oh well, have you like almost planting little
Mm-hmm.
ideas, but they felt like they were their own, and I feel
Yeah.
like I get to do a lot of that as I start
Yeah.
coaching.
So what's your plans
Um,
going forward? What are you looking to do with this going forward?
well, I'd like to build out, I'd really love to continue to build out the coaching component of it, both in
Yeah.
one-on-one coaching,
Mm-hmm.
group coaching, how that plays into the monthly menopause meetup
Yeah.
groups. I've been actually, as a result of the menopause summit, I've met so many incredible resources,
Mm-hmm.
even within my local community. And we're looking at how we partner, because there's so much, like I have a woman that is a nurse practitioner, and she just opened a sexual wellness center, and
Mm-hmm.
she's working with women in working with women in the menopausal stage, doing
Mm-hmm.
a lot with HRT. And she, as we're talking, she's like, yeah, but I'm prescribing, I'm working with them, but then how are they making sure they implement what I'm telling them they need to? So we're looking at some
Yeah.
partnerships, and how I
Fantastic.
can really partner with different people within the local
Mm-hmm.
community. Someone said, they're like, you're like a facilitator. You have your hands in a lot of places already. So I'd love to continue that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm looking at is how I go, continue into consulting. I
Mm-hmm.
have 25 years of corporate America. I've been working with a couple of early stage startups. So that was my
Mm-hmm.
world for the last 25 years,
Yeah.
is startups to acquisition. So I've been working with one in particular that's
Yeah.
a digital app for women
Yeah.
in the menopause stage. So I'm an
Yeah.
advisor right now for them. So I'm going to continue on that
Yeah.
path. And
Mm-hmm.
then the third is, I really think trying to go into the corporate
Yeah.
environment.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the areas. Although we're talking about some putting them, how do we support the men through
Yeah.
menopause, and
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of different places there. So the world is still unknown, but it's getting
Amazing.
clearer.
I love that. And how, when you were going through the program, one of the things I'm always curious about, people have ideas when they join the program. Have you stuck to your original ideas and plans, or have they evolved and changed as you've gone through the process?
Oh, continue to change in a good way. I think, I think when I first started the program, I really didn't know what to expect.
Mhm.
I had some vague ideas of where I wanted
Mhm.
to go. The end of the program, when you had the Christine in particular come in and
Uh-huh.
talk about like starting a business, those were areas
Mhm.
I had in my head, but
Yeah.
really understanding how to do that part has been really exciting, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So has it evolved? I think my core pillars are still the same, as
Mhm.
far as wanting to continue to coach, but I feel like going through the program, having that level of education, it's giving me the confidence that I didn't feel that I had to the same degree.
Yeah.
That's kind of almost catapulted my
Yeah.
ability to talk to different businesses now.
Hmm.
So
And
that's
that's
probably
such
the
a,
thing that's changed.
yeah, I think that's such a key thing. And that's one of the reasons why I have Jen do the session on confidence as well. Because I think
Mm,
that so many people I speak to, myself included, have our confidence takes such a big knock that we kind of feel like we can't do the things that we were able to do before. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she's like a really bubbly, outgoing person, but she was saying to me, I couldn't even take my daughter to Heathrow Airport yesterday, and she didn't want to go on the motorway anymore. And she goes, I know it's menopause. I know I can do it. I've been doing it for years, but I just can't get in the car and get on the motorway anymore. And I thought
Yeah.
our confidence is impacted in so many different ways as we go through menopause. So I think confidence, community, all of these things together, I think are really amazing when I watch people kind of go through. Now, there was something you said earlier that I wanted to come back to, which
Sure.
was that you had friends who were roughly 5 years older than you, and you were doing all this research for them, and then giving them all this information, but you yourself didn't realize that you were also at the beginning of that process, which I think is hysterical because we all end up going through that, or a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 4 years before we realize that we're in perimenopause. So when did you realize you were there too?
Too late, honestly. I think for me, it was, as I said, I'm going through all of this
Mm.
and I'm at work. I actually thought it was COVID because it was 2020 into 2021. I'm going through and I was in my late 40s and I'm listening to these podcasts and I'm like, oh, and as I'm on meetings, my heart is racing.
Mm.
I'm on meetings where I had to turn my camera off a couple times because my face was turning beet red. I was freezing and sweating at the same time. I
Mm-hmm.
remember writing things down and I've always had a pen in my hand just to write things down,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
like I'd write it down and then I couldn't remember. At one point we were so busy at work, I sat here like at my countertop glued to my chair for what felt like months on end with like an AirPod in one ear, listening to a video, a phone over here, and then I'm still texting and slacking people. And I just thought it was just complete stress. And then when I went and I moved jobs, and again, it was like I was customer facing, and
Yeah,
I started to get afraid to be on meetings, and
yeah.
as I got less and less confident, it
Mm.
became more and more obvious and things that and I remember saying to myself, like, you're fine, this is just,
Yeah.
and I was getting more and more emotional and I was getting more, all those things just really started to destroy my confidence.
Mm.
And I joked at one point, I said I'm an executive and I feel like I have zero executive functioning left, but I couldn't really talk to anyone about it. And I went to my doctor and
Yeah.
I put in the subject menopause. And she said, well, what's going on? I said, I've gained weight. She goes, and I don't feel like myself. And I'm telling her all of these symptoms. And she's like, well, you're exercising, you're still eating the same. She's like, what's changed? I'm like, nothing. She goes, so you're depressed and here's some Prozac. And I went, absolutely not. And I took it for a day and I'm like, no, that's not what's going on with me. And, fast forward, I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. And in May of 2024, I finally started on HRT and it was game changing.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time going, okay, like, I knew something was happening, but my doctor wouldn't listen. I had done all the research and finally, my hair was falling out and all these different side effects. I had
Yeah.
just finished running a marathon and my body was in shambles. And I finally started HRT
Mm.
in May of 2024. And that
Yeah.
was the beginning of the change for me.
Yeah.
Suddenly, over a month, I could feel the difference and feel the
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah.
And then it catapulted from there. And I also took some time to do some self-help.
Yeah.
I did, and I think it's important to share, and I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to share. I started EMDR,
Yeah.
because I had some things that so it was that combination.
Mm.
But I think without that, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
And having been on HRT for a year, I guess, by the time you went through the menopause plan, how did the menopause plan then enhance how you were experiencing life in general at that point?
It was funny because I think it was those little things, like
Uh-huh.
even today, I say, oh, I have to make sure I have my water every day. I have to keep
Mm.
hydrated. I think it highlighted
Mm.
things in every area of my life that I thought, well, I have a pretty decent routine. What do I need this? Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll be fine. And then all of a sudden it's like, actually, if I do 1, 2, and 3, this will
Yeah.
help my routine even more, or being able to see different
Yeah.
components of it. So I think the menopause plan for me just highlighted things in a little bit more detail that I could take
Sure.
away. And I mean, us going through it ourselves was
Yeah.
game changing.
Yeah.
It's funny because we talk about decluttering, and that was probably one of the most powerful exercises for me, but also for when I was coaching, to the point where when we put the summit together, I actually had a
Yeah.
professional organizer talk,
Oh, amazing.
and her title was the stress of in the mess,
Yeah.
the stress of the mess. And it was because of the power in talking about
Yeah.
decluttering that, again, you wouldn't think of had
Yeah.
anything to do with menopause, but to
Yeah.
give you back that control was
Mhm.
outrageously powerful.
Amazing. And have you always been a runner? When you say you just got back from doing a marathon, is that something you've always done, or were you new to running?
No, I've always been. I started running late in life. I started running after my son was born,
Mhm.
about a year late. I had ran, but I started kind of calling myself a runner
Yeah. Yeah.
after he was born. I'm a big mountain biker. So
Okay.
I coach mountain biking. I have
Yeah.
always mountain biked and I love it. But running for me has always been cathartic.
Yeah.
That's how I think, that's what I do.
Mhm.
But the marathon, I had done a lot of half marathons, but I'd never
Mhm.
done a full. So that was my first full
Uh-huh.
marathon.
And how,
So,
I'm just out of curiosity, I'm curious because I'm about to do the Brighton Marathon again next year. And I did
wonderful.
it, the last time I did it was back in 2014, not knowing that I'd just gone through menopause. And I kept on getting injured, I didn't recover enough, and I just thought something was seriously wrong with my body, that I was breaking down. And as an anaerobic athlete who's used to playing football, doing judo, doing sprinting, running is a completely different demand on your body. I thought I was eating well, but wasn't eating enough. I thought I was training well, but wasn't getting enough recovery. I was doing it all wrong. But did you find that step up from a half marathon to marathon a shift, or was it just like you decided you were going to do it, you adapted your training, and away you went?
A little bit of both. I mean, it definitely was a harder shift when you got into those higher miles, like those 15, 20, 22
Yeah.
miles. The fueling for me was incredibly important. Fortunately, because of one of the podcasts I had listened to, I felt like I had heard about fueling differently and how
Yeah.
we usually did under fuel. So
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit more mindful of what I was fueling. I incorporated protein in
Mm-hmm.
that I hadn't to the same extent before.
Uh,
And the other shift is I incorporated strength training to a whole different level. I had just
excellent.
started strength training a couple of years before. But then in the winter of 2024, as I started training, I also started doing one-on-one personal sessions for
Yeah.
strength training to feel like I knew what I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
that combination of leg strength
Mm-hmm.
and lifting really helped me because I couldn't do the miles the same
Yeah.
way
Mm-hmm.
that I had done before. So my training plan before, it was like 5 days on, 2 days off, and now it was staggered a little different.
Yeah.
I did a lot more like speed work. I did things a little differently this time, like the
Yeah.
plan that I did.
Yeah.
That was very different than anything I had done
Yeah.
before. But
Oh, I
incorporating
love
that
it.
the strength was huge.
Yeah. But you'll have a really good cardio base from the mountain biking as well, because that's tough work. That's really
Yeah,
hard work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you live in
I honestly love it.
you're in such a beautiful part of the world to go out running and mountain biking. Especially we're recording it in autumn. This will be coming out in a couple of months, but the time we're recording it, it's so pretty at this time of year, going through fall and all the colors. It's one of my favorite parts of the States, is that
Yeah.
northeast part. I just think it's so beautiful. So yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous part of the world. So have
And
you
I'm
always
lucky.
lived there?
No, I'm from upstate New York originally. And
Yeah.
then but I moved to Boston in the late 90s. And we've
Oh,
really formed everything within this area. And the town that I moved here because I'm a quarter of a mile from the woods. And nature for me that's my sanctuary and that's my
yeah.
sanity. So I get out almost every day. I cross the street and I'm in nature and I can hug a tree and breathe in the fresh air for a few minutes and
Oh,
still feel like I'm in the city, but have that time to
yeah.
just
Yeah.
be within for a few minutes.
Amazing. Shannon, what have I not asked you that you would like to share today?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we covered a lot in a really good. You asked me what's next. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. What would you say to anybody that's kind of sitting on the fence, thinking about maybe training as menopause coach, but hasn't quite decided what way to go yet? What would your top tips to them be?
I would say follow your heart and go for it. It's, regardless of where you end up, having that knowledge is huge, both from the knowledge place, but also the confidence. And as I mentioned earlier, the community that you build and the people that you never know you're going to meet. And I mean, I've been blown away by that. That has been one of my favorite things, meeting local people and also the community on WhatsApp and different places. It's been great.
Amazing. Shannan, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure to be able to reconnect with you and to hear what you've been up to, and especially last weekend. I can't wait for next year. And super excited. Where's the best place for someone to connect with you? We're going to put all that in the show notes, but where's the best place for someone to connect with you?
The best place, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Shannan Hanson. It's Shannan with an A. I also have a Facebook group, Kairos Coaching. It's with a C. And my website, kairostrategies.com.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining me on Women of a Certain Stage. I hope today's episode inspired you to think differently about menopause and the incredible opportunities this stage of life brings. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends who need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us reach even more people. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Lauren Chiren or visit our website at womenofacertainstage.com to learn more about menopause coaching, inspiring events, and corporate training. Until next time, let's continue making a difference, one conversation at a time.